Tarping Committee. And if you would, I'd like, I'm sorry. My bad. Good morning. I'd like to call together the meeting of the Tarping Committee on November the 2nd, 2016. And if we could, start this morning out with the invitation by Mr. Lance Thompson.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for all the many rich blessings you've bestowed upon us. Please forgive us for all our sins, as we know there are many. Guide us and protect us and help us make good decisions for the citizens of Horry County. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance, Mr. Hughes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This committee was formed because of a situation we've had for a long time with debris coming from trucks that are leaving the landfill, not coming into the landfill, but are leaving the landfill. And so our goal today is to look at this situation and see how we can help it and make it better. Before we start making suggestions as a committee, I would like to hear from staff and their suggestions on what will work, won't work, what we can do and what we can't do. My first question is, do we accept trucks coming in without a tarp on them? Because it's going to be real hard to make them put them up when they leave if they don't have one when they get here.
Yeah, before we get started, just want to make sure introduce Chris Calhoun and Wayne Martin from the landfill. They're out there every day seeing
I
the
cannot imagine anybody that doesn't know them.
So I asked them to sit up here in case they had some good feedback or information they
Certainly.
wanted to pass along.
They're the people that deal with them every day, and they should be here.
Right. There are loads that come in without a tarp on them, especially right now with all the storm debris, especially the vegetation that's coming in here. There is some other loads that come in. The ones we've probably had a little more problem with are the bigger haulers, if they hadn't had a tarp on there. And I know I've called a couple of the haulers and said they've got to have a tarp on there when they get here, you know.
Well, to interrupt you, Bill, what are the requirements state-wise legally on them having a tarp? Are they not required by law to have one?
They should have a tarp on there, yes, sir.
So if they were, say, to be stopped, they would probably get some kind of citation or whatever for not having a tarp on.
I'm sure litter control would stop them and give them a citation.
And does that include yard debris or just?
I think during normal times it probably would. There's probably a little bit more relaxation right now with trying to get the area cleaned up. And there is, like I said, we're having probably at least 300 folks come in a day.
Sure.
Whether it's a pickup or any kind of vehicle, they got a little trailer and they're bringing it in and not tarp. For the most part, people are taking straps and running across it, securing it that way. Some do have a tarp. They're not filling it all the way, but you do have a handful that you can tell they're trying to get all they can on there, and they may be losing some.
Well, I would think that the yard debris would cause less of a problem. Is that?
I haven't seen that much yard debris.
Right.
The thing I see with the trucks leaving most is paper.
Right.
Trash, the
Loose.
stuff that stays in the bed,
Blowing out of the can.
blowing out of
Right.
the can.
Right.
That's what brought this up and what got this committee together. I mean, I realize we're in a different situation with yard debris now, but the thing Mr. Hughes is talking about goes on year-round, day in and day out, every day when they leave here. And what I had an occasion 2 weeks ago to spend a lot of time on, Nani, what I saw more than anything else, are those lovely little plastic bags. Because they don't come out when they empty the truck, and then they come out and it gets a little whirlwind and it blows them back out. So I understand that we're dealing with multiple haulers now with the yard debris situation and all that, but I think what this committee is looking at is more the everyday problem of things blowing out of the truck as they leave here, not particularly yard debris or because of that now, but the things that we've been facing for years, and we get the complaints on them, and we look bad because they say, well, we causing it. They look at us and say they're coming here, and so I think it's our responsibility to do the best we can and do what we can to stop the situation.
Prior to the meeting, did some research on it, what some other locations are doing. I'll just kind of throw some of them out there just for you to consider. Post a sign at each cell, you know, whether yard waste, C&D, or solid waste, reminding all containers must be tarped, you know, when you leave the landfill, but place one at each cell. We've got one now up here as you leave by the fuel farm, but place it at the working cell. We could do say a mass mail out, a letter to all the companies, you know, the ones that are regular, not all the little mom and pops coming in, but send one out saying that, reminding them that containers have to be tarped before you weigh out, before leaving the landfill. You could do that. There's another one where they just won't weigh out a can. If you don't have a tarp on it, you're not going to get weighed out. And so you better have one on there if you're going to do that when you leave.
Is that weighed out or weighing in?
It was weighing out, both. But, you know, I'm talking about, like we were saying, when we leave the landfill or when they leave.
So what happens to them if we're not gonna let them weigh out?
Well, that's my question. Just don't weigh them in. They just have to circle around and
Right,
get a tarp.
go get a
Right.
tarp.
But if they don't, and you don't weigh them out, well, I'm leaving, then you're gonna have to
Well, that,
argue about the weight.
Right.
well, that's when the next one, you know, and I think Mr. Jones and I talked about it at the board meeting, maybe after the second or third time, you have a prayer meeting with their company. You know, you get them, have them come to the SWA facility, we sit down and let them know we've got a problem, you know, with not tarping a load.
Well,
You know- I'm sorry.
I think that's really a fairly simple solution. It just depends on whether we want to implement it or not. You can have your come to see Jesus meeting after the first time or the third time. That's whatever the board or the committee decides to do that. But the simplicity of the thing is if you drive off, if you pay no attention, if you say, I'm not going to play by the rules, that's fine. You can't come back. Now, if the driver has an attitude, he may be able to do that. But the gentleman that owns that truck that's paying money on it, that's paying his salary, he's not going to be happy when he has to come out here or when that truck can't come back on this property.
One other idea we found, and it was from a major hauler out in Texas. If you come to the landfill and your load is not tarped, they put a surcharge on your bill, whether it's $30, $40, or $50 extra. Right now, if we have a misrepresented load, we charge $150 for that. But if you come in and you know you're going to pay whatever, you know, may be agreed upon, and say, okay, we'll still weigh you in, weigh you out, but we're going to charge you $50.
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like when you lose your parking ticket.
Get
you
in
know,
your
you-
pocketbook.
Right. You know, it's going to cost you whatever that max is. And so I would think that would be a huge incentive the very first time, whatever that is, when I show up without a tarp and you tell me not only am I paying my regular rate, but there's a surcharge on top of that, I can pretty much bet next time I come back, I'm going to have a tarp. So I like that.
I do too.
Ideal. I think that's going to get your immediate attention. But I would suggest that we let these companies know in advance.
Sure.
That something, that this is going to be taking place, that
Right.
it's going to show up.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I think the mail out or the,
Yeah,
whatever communication system you have set up with the drivers, the signage is great. The breakdown in the signage to me is the guy driving the truck and the guy that owns the truck are two different guys with two different attitudes and two different motivations.
well, the surcharge is going to hit the guy on the truck,
There you go.
and he's going to hit the driver.
Right.
The driver's either going to put the tarp on or he's going to be looking for a job. I ain't going to continue to pay $50 surcharge.
Right.
And we could do it a couple ways. You could have a mail out, or you could also hand out letters at the scale house,
Or both.
you know,
Or-
right.
I would do both. I would suggest both.
So, I mean, and then, you know, we could always, try to get a little more, you know, do multiple things, but also maybe try to get a little more help, when available from litter control. Because they've come out here and set up on Highway 90. And, we give them a call and just say, hey, it's becoming more and more of an issue here. We need some more help, and let them get out there and give some citations.
And I would recommend in the communication that we just remind everybody, this isn't a new policy. It's just enforcing the policy that's been in place.
Absolutely.
And that giving them kind of a heads up that, you know, in addition to a fee at the scale house, there is gonna be, more attention paid out on the road from litter control. Just so somebody that maybe if we do get them out here and they do get a citation, you know, we told you that in the communication back when we first said that we're gonna crack down on this and make sure that people are in compliance, and there should be no surprises. You know, if you get a ticket, there shouldn't be, well, I had no idea that I could.
And I, you know, Wayne or Chris might speak a little more, but what I found as far as, when any of them have left, it's been our bigger customers that leave here that have tarps on their container. They just don't tarp it when they leave.
But those things kind of roll over, don't they?
Right.
They're just kind of, you don't have to get out and pull them over like I do.
Right.
Just kind of roll the thing, doesn't it?
Right,
So-
it's hydraulic
So
driven.
so that goes to a different issue, because when they show up, they're gonna have it potentially tarped, but don't pull it back when they leave, so.
That's the deal.
Right, it's going, you know, we need to check it going both ways, for the fine, because if somebody shows up and it's not tarped, then we're gonna fine them there, but then, you know, they did have it on when they showed up, it's just they didn't put it on when they leave. There's a,
They get to the scale house and don't have it on, he can just, before he closes out that ticket,
right,
Yeah, just, yeah.
right, yeah, it's a good
add
time
that
to
on
do it.
there. And that's what we do with the misrepresented load.
Okay.
We add the 150 on there, and
Right.
they get it when they leave.
Good,
It may be also, you could add to the mass mailing, what I'm seeing on the hill at times is some of the bigger trucks, they're in a hurry, they dump the load, they pull off. They never get out and look, see what's left in the can. So in the mailing, we can add, maybe to go ahead and have the drivers take time to check the cans.
good point.
And not only the cans,
The-
the frames, the running board,
Everything.
the whole thing.
And we're seeing that with the waste industry trucks with the rear loaders. They'll pull the can up, the part of the back of the truck up, and never check what's left inside it. And they're losing stuff that way also.
Let me ask staff, all of Danny, everybody this. We had talked before, we had seen it was actually a homemade washing system that the trucks went through when they left, made out of PVC pipe. There wasn't a lot to it. Do you have any, you remember us talking about that?
Yes, and we have, at two separate conventions, I have asked people, it's simple to find one, wheel washers, that you drive kind of through a pit, and it washes the wheels off. But even the tarp people that's got the tarps that you, for daily cover, those people, no one had anything, that you could buy that would blow the stuff out. And really it's loose stuff, it's the
Right.
plastic stuff that, the paper, if you wet it, then it's gonna be harder to get out, but I think if you just put the onus on the truck driver that he needs to check his load, he needs to tarp it, he needs to check the truck. I think it needs to be their responsibility. But we have looked, and I've asked at two different conventions about something that would, fans or something that drives under or through, but that just slows them down. I think they would rather check the load than be slowed down going back through a service area to blow the stuff out, but.
It only takes them a couple minutes just to get out and check the truck. They may have to pull it aside while they're on the hill and get up in there and pull it out. We've had them do that before. I've seen them, when litter patrol was active on 90, aggressive when the dog pound was here, we had drivers getting out and sweeping out the back of the can before they left. Because litter patrol did more, in my opinion, to slow it down, because that was a heavy fine, than what we did here. Because
What's
they
our,
could almost ignore us and move on.
what's our relationship with litter control now? Do they work easily with us?
Well, we have to call them, on tires, when we have tires, they're not as active as they once were. And I don't know how the new chief's going to, respond to litter. So I can't answer that question right now, how they're
Okay.
gonna do.
New chief is the deal, I understand that.
But I talked to the past real chief, one acting chief about litter and about our concerns, asking for more patrols, especially with the sense that the county is looking at cleaning up roads and putting all this into the major cleanup that, and I talked to Mark on the first cleanup, that through that process, he could actually put statements out encouraging the trucking companies to tarp, cut down on litter, because that could be part of the whole big campaign instead of just later on just cracking down on the trucks. But I failed to get that.
I can't imagine a bigger priority. I know there's litter everywhere, but, you know, the constant trucks in and out, I can't imagine a bigger priority than right here.
And it's easy area. I mean,
Right.
Between here and the old ham bones,
Right,
and between here and the blueberry farm is where it's gonna blow out.
right,
And
Right.
That's what most of
just
the time you say.
patrol that area.
Right.
And you don't have to patrol it much.
right.
When the guys over here with the scales, they come in and set up, and the word gets around pretty quick. The man's at the gate, so. I will talk to the new chief.
Thank you.
That was the ideas that we had to bring to the committee. So I guess, you know, for y'all's consideration, and if you have to take it to the, you know, full board and all that, we appreciate the help.
What kind of surcharge? Let's just talk about that. What you think?
I'd say at least 100.
Get their attention.
It's a nice round number.
The misrepresentation, has that number been that way for a while? The 150, is that?
Yes.
That's been that way for a while, yeah.
It's probably been like that, probably 5 years, I guess.
I wouldn't have a problem with it both being the same.
That was kind of my question about the consistency.
I don't
and
have a problem with them both
violations, or-
being the same.
I think it should be the same. I would go with 150. I just think the higher the price, the quicker you're gonna get
I
the
agree.
attention.
Right,
You know, if it's not worth their time, if it's so low, they're gonna continue to do it, because it's not worth their time. But if you start hitting them where they feel it, you'll get some actions fairly soon.
Well, I think the committee then agrees with 150.
Well, the thing
Keep
about
it
it,
the
on the
same.
misrepresented load, a lot of times the hauler will pass that along to the customer. They won't be able to pass along
right.
this to a
Right.
customer.
Good point, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
But they can pass it to the driver.
right.
right, right.
Like I said, if that owner has to pay it,
Just
Right,
like a
that's
truck driver
where you're
gets a
gonna
speeding
notice the
ticket.
difference.
yeah,
If he
Right.
gets a speeding ticket, he pays it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's the driver's ultimate responsibility to tarp the load himself.
Right,
The owner, same way, you can tell him to do it. If he doesn't do it, then.
right.
But, is this being devil's advocate of, is this just for C&D and solid waste loads? Or is this for, we got a lot of little trucks coming in that will not have tarps. I'm talking truck homeowners. Would you pass that fine along with them too? Would it be just for commercial, C&D and solid waste, or would it be for homeowners also?
Do we have a feel for how much of a problem the homeowner is with the litter? I mean, is that
Most
something
of
that,
what they're bringing in is the yard waste, so right now.
right,
We only have one solid waste that brings it in on trailer, and he usually has his tarp. That's Mr. G and G.
G&G.
And his is usually always tarp, so I don't think that'll be a problem, but I'm just,
I think most of the small trucks, pickup trucks and trailers will actually sweep it out and rake it out, and blow it out. Even the landscapers, most time they've got backpacks on their thing and they just blow it.
They do a better job
I
than
know,
the
I'm-
big ones.
Yeah, I've been down to the yard waste and too much. I'm tired, that's why I'm taking the day off. But I noticed most of the homeowners do sweep, we sweep our trailers out, because we don't wanna blow anything out on the road, but most of the ones I've seen there have been sweeping the trailers out and cleaning them out before they take off.
The ones that I've seen it where it comes out a lot of times, it's the roll-off containers. You know, that they can tarp those cans.
Right.
And they
And
don't.
some of the compactors that don't.
Right, self-contained, where they may
Right,
have, you know, a little bit in there, but
Put back on.
it's been mainly the roll-off.
But you could have two different ones. You could have a surcharge for the commercial type and then the kind of the mom and pop. But also too, you gonna cover the Keep America Beautiful, that thing?
No, I didn't have any.
Back on when we were getting ready on the cleanup day, the state organization that puts money in and keeps highways clean and stuff, they were going to start a program of tarping loads. And we're actually wanted to set up at a couple of our convenience centers to give tarps to people that didn't have a tarp. And they still want to do that, but I think we could tie in to that campaign also to get more of the word out. Sure. But you've got the smaller ones that Chris has brought up that we will have to contend with some kind of way. It's one thing, a guy that's got a small 4x8 Hardy trailer, no tarp, and he pays $150, and here's a guy that got a roll-off container that's
Right.
really causing the trouble, and it's the same.
How many small haulers do we have that do this for a living or as a job? Not the guy that's cleaning up after the storm now, that's just trying to get it out of his yard or his neighbor's yard, but the people that do this for a living.
Bunch of them.
we got quite a few,
Landscapers.
especially shingle contractors that's fairly small, that pull trailers, but most of them are usually tarps. Most of them are usually tarps.
Well, if we could work this out, Danny, with this Keep America Beautiful, that the small ones like that get a one-shot deal if they show up and we have a problem with them. Here it is. This is your get out of jail free card. This is your chance to do. If you come back,
Because the commercial people know that by law, they got to be.
right.
And I mean, everybody with a truck knows that. The first renourishment project we did, they did at Myrtle Beach, and they were digging all that sand on 544. That was one of the biggest bitches that we heard downtown, was that those trucks weren't tarp. You'd get behind it and sand blowing off, but tarp ain't gonna help too much sand. But, and some of the tarps, they gonna have to buy some new ones, and 'cause there's 4 or 5 strings running down top of it.
There's more missing than there is there.
That's right. But, I think we can, we'll make the report and, get the blessings. And I think we'll do kind of like a 30-day period where we we advertise it, we hand out stuff, we put them on notice that, a certain day, we will start the TARP campaign, and, we'll set up some rules and guidelines, and then if the $150, if they get 3 or 4 of those, then we may have to bring the company in and talk to them, but I think they'll come to us after about the second one, won't know what's going on. But we will have a driver's meeting, and talk to them about it. We hadn't had one lately. And I'll talk to the new chief to see how he feels about roadside litter.
And they will, when they're checking out, whoever's at the gatehouse will, if it's not up, we'll ask them to put it up.
Yeah. Now, we take the position, if they come in, they don't have a tarp, we charge them, no tarp.
Yes.
That's fine. I think that word will get out pretty quick. I think the tarp business will go up in Ovie County.
Tarp man will love us.
I better go get mine today before this. Before this kicks in.
Harbor Freight and get.
I started to say Harbor Freight gonna have a run on TARP now.
Straight out to Harbor Freight.
That'd be a shame if the first one we charged was one of our board members.
Yeah, get you a tarp and some bungee cord, you have it covered.
Okay, so we've gone over it, so we're gonna look at signage, letter with a 30-day period. You're gonna talk to the new chief about the litter control. The surcharge we've agreed on is $150, and they will be told at the scale house they need to put the tarp up before they leave. Anything else?
I don't think there's anything unfair about that. I don't think there's anybody that could say y'all are mistreating us as a business, or that's not reasonable for us to do. I think it's fair and equitable, and something that needs to be enforced.
And Danny, you're gonna talk to Keep America Beautiful to see if we can work that out with the little guy, to give him one, and if he don't wanna play by the rules, then that's his choice.
We were gonna set those up at the recycling centers instead of the scale house. But we will talk to them and see when they're gonna do that program.
Okay?
And it would be neat if they could do it kind of at the same time that we doing this, because the more people involved and the more publicity get, better off we'll all be.
Right.
Would the beginning of the calendar year 2017 be a reasonable time to start based on the committee meeting and then sending it to the board for consideration, and then the 30-day kind of notice that kind of starts fresh, the calendar year, first of the year, and everybody's aware of it? And
I think that'll push it because of the meetings and the holidays, but I think we could look at January 1st. You think that'll be good?
That'll give us time to put signage up, which we'll get them up in the next 15 days. And
Right.
that way they got plenty of time.
And we can start talking to the Tim Lees of the world and Waste Industries and everybody that it's coming, and they might as well go on to Harbor Freight.
Yeah. Mr. Hughes?
It sounds good to me. Is the litter control, Ovie County litter control still out here now? Because I haven't seen them out here.
They haven't been out there in a
Well, I
while.
figured they probably hadn't been out during the
Yeah.
storm, but before that, I hadn't seen much of that.
They come in spurts. They might be out here for 2 or 3 days, and then you don't see them for a while.
Trucks are on the road. I don't know what their assignments are or what their priorities are, but I need to be able to recognize the new chief, so I'll go see him.
Right. I think that would be good. That would be good.
I like the plan.
We have a plan. That's what we came here for, and I appreciate you're doing your homework and your due diligence and helping us out, figure out what this plan's gonna be.
One of the big companies, Bill didn't call the name, the biggest, got a landfill. If you don't have a tarp on, you don't get in. Biggest hauler in the world, that's their deal at their landfill that they own. So, we're not gonna deny you access, but better have your tarp up.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't say what they were charging. It just says they put a surcharge on your invoice if you come in and it's not tarped.
I like ours being the same.
And I think
Consistent
you're
all the
gonna
way
have to, we're gonna have to police that thing a little bit beyond just the people in the scale house when we start it. Because down at the railroad track, they may put the tarp down there waiting in line, and we got to know that,
Got to know they had it and when it came in.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, really, technically, it used to be you kept your load tarped until you got to the hill. That's the way they should be now. Your load should be tarped until you get to the hill, the same way as you had trash falling off from the scale house through the landfill.
Right, that's what I say, we're destroying our own property if we don't make them do that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Sounds like a plan to me.
We have a plan, Mr. Knight will put this into order, bring us report on the new chief and the litter patrol at the next board meeting. Does anyone have anything else? Again, thank you for being here and
thank
your
you,
thoughts
staff.
and
Yep.
appreciate you bringing the thoughts and ideas to help us figure out this plan, because y'all are the guys that work with them every day, and you have a better understanding of them and how to do than we do. So we very much appreciate that. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll accept an motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Right.
All in favor? We're
job,
done.
everybody.
Thank you much.
All right, thank you guys.